Welcome to From the Ground Up Grassroots Strategies for a Lead-Free Future. My name is Merlene Tucker, and I'll be running today's web forum along with my colleague Jeff Bornstein. This web forum is sponsored by the Leadership Academy for the Public's Health and produced by Dialogue for Health, both programs of PHI Center for Health, Leadership, and Impact. Now let's meet the moderator of today's event, Karia Lustig. Karia is the director of PHI Center for Health, Leadership, and Impact. She develops strategy and overall operations of CHLI. Karia has 25 plus years in community health, nonprofit sector, and school-based programs and family centers. She's a thought leader applying strategic design and industry-leading approaches. Welcome, Karia.
Thank you so much, Merlene, and welcome everybody. We're really excited to have this conversation with you today. We know that lead exposure has been a huge issue for many, many years, and that there's been lots of policies created about safe lead levels and various requirements at the local and national level, and all those are needed. But we also know that true traction on the issue is really only possible with community level prevention and intervention activities. So we're really pleased to be welcoming these really strong grassroots organizations in two different parts of the country that are leading the charge in protecting communities from the dangers of lead exposure. They'll be talking about really creative approaches that are based on creativity, determination, and local knowledge. And we'll explore the powerful role of grassroots leadership in providing these lead prevention efforts, in highlighting some innovative strategies, best practices, partnerships people are engaged in, and true community-driven solutions that are making local action effective and sustainable. So for introductions, first we have Dr. Peggy Liddell. She's from the Noxubee County Activity League and is a program evaluator and training. She's a retired public school federal program director, high school assistant principal, and classroom teacher. So she has a robust types of experience in different environments. She's the former founder and executive director of United Management Systems, a low-income housing development. And in her current role, she oversees program effectiveness and implementation planning and provides informational training related to blood lead screen levels and treatment. So welcome, Dr. Peggy Liddell. And then also from her organization, she's joined by Vanya Liddell, who's the licensed lead inspector and lead risk assessor with Noxubee County Activity League. They'll be sharing the conversation today for Noxubee County. And Vanya has attended Coahoma Community College and Mississippi State University Center for Continued Education, and he currently serves as the lead inspector and risk assessor at the Activity League. And he assists with community outreach, lead awareness education, in addition to conducting environmental investigations. So welcome to both of you. And then finally, we have Salvador Mendoza, who's from the Northwest Center. He's a community health worker there. He's been a community health worker with the center since 2021. And in this role, he helps facilitate vaccinations for over 10,000 people in their community there. He's also a certified lead assessor and lead inspector, and he facilitates lead workshops and lead-focused home visits. So welcome to Salvador. So we're going to begin the presentation period with Noxubee County and then move into Northwest Center. And then again, following that time, I'll sort of lead a question answer period with some prepared panel questions, and then we'll move into Q&A. So welcome to Dr. Liddell and Vanya.
Hello, hello. I'm Vanya Liddell, Noxubee County Activity League.
Hi, Peggy Liddell.
There you go.
Trainer, evaluator for Noxubee County Activity League. We are located in Macon, Mississippi, which is northeast Mississippi. And we are inviting you to come and visit us at www.nc-al.org. The population of Noxubee County, it's a rural county. We have approximately 9,742 people. And you can see that the population is decreasing. So we have a negative growth of approximately 15%. The county is predominantly African American at 73.9%, with a white population of 25%. We have a population children under age 5 at 7.6%, a poverty rate of 23.3%, which is very similar to the Delta part of the state, although we are not geographically located in the Delta. We are in Northeast Mississippi. And the housing that was built prior to 1978 is approximately 47.3%, which is pretty high. Next.
Oh, one thing we have to explain that 1% that we left out.
Well, the non% of the population is it's a combination. We have a population of Choctaw Indian. We have a Choctaw Indian population. We have a biracial population, and the 1% is just if you're not counted in the census as African American or white, non-Hispanic. And we do have a Hispanic population. We have a small Hispanic population, and that population is mainly, you can see that population in our school system. Next. Gary Naylor is executive director of the county. That this particular Knoxville County Activity Lead has a background in recreational activities and nutritional programming. As I said, our program evaluator, Jessica Fox, is the program lead coordinator, the person that is primarily in charge of blood lead testing and home visitations. Vaniel is a licensed inspector, risk assessor, and a construction supervisor. Those are the licenses that he holds, but he takes a very, very active role in in community engagement in the lead awareness workshop. And our administrative assistant also assists with home visits and assists with outreach. When you have a small staff, you wear multiple hats. Next. Our partners are, of course, your federal and your state agencies, including Mississippi State Extension Service. Of course, we're funded through the Center for Disease Control. Our primary partner in this particular program is the state of Mississippi's Mississippi Department of Health. We have gotten a lot of assistance out of our health department, especially in reference to data collection and helping us to know how to reach out to medical providers and to state testing, blood lead testing agencies to make sure that we were all reporting our data to the Mississippi Department of Health so that our statistical data could be in place. And even when the parents take children out of the county, it's our understanding that data is, the health department data is collected through addresses. So we'll still get the statistical information through the State Department of Health. We have been in the partnership with Public Health Institute from the very, very beginning. We have participated in a number of workshops, webinars with PHI. And what we try to do is we try to use that information to help us plan and reevaluate our strategies. I mentioned the test laboratories. It was we test for blood, paint, soil. We have the other testing laboratories are laboratories in terms of soil and paint. We collaborate with Mississippi State Extension Service, who may or may not help, but they at least know who we should contact. So we've gotten a lot of help there. We have a very, very good relationship with our local child care providers. We have 1 Head Start and 6, I think, daycare centers. We have local churches that we participate with, our local government. We have 3 levels of the 3 small towns, so they have mayors, and we have the board of supervisors, which is a countywide government. And we have parents and caregivers. We have a lot of grandparents who are caregivers, and of course, community members, and of course, property owners. Next. Our work, community engagement strategies. We do awareness training workshops, home visitation consultations, blood lead testing, nutritional education, lead inspections, lead risk assessments, lead control demonstrations. And Daniel will talk more about the inspections, risk assessments, and lead control demonstrations. The nutritional education is pretty much tied to home visitations and lead awareness training workshop. Next. Our partnerships, lead poison prevention strategies, local medical providers delivering blood lead testing and advocating for prevention policies and privacy, local child care providers making blood lead testing referrals and educating parents about lead poison prevention. As I said, local churches, townships, community centers providing the meeting places and a great opportunity for the community to come together and network and talk about lead poison prevention. Knoxville County Activity Leads coordinating self-reported and lead prevention data collection. Mississippi State Department of Health coordinating lead test data reporting among medical providers.
All right. Our work program income strategies. I think she lead inspection certification training October 2023. Lead risk assessor certification March 24th. Lead supervisor certification training October 2024. Knoxville County Activity League is a licensed lead abatement nonprofit organization. We deal with Mississippi State University Center of Continued Education. That's where we do our testing at. That's where we get licensed at. And Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality is where we actually take our test.
Let me, before you said next, let me just say this. Can everyone hear me? Is that the reason that we have it labeled as a program income strategy is because we were thinking and we are hopeful that this is one possible way that we can sustain our work here in Knoxville County is to having a certified inspector, lead risk assessment, lead supervisor person on site. And I make it so difficult. We really went through a lot of, put forth a lot of effort to make sure that we were able to purchase a lead analyzer device. And we worked very closely with CDC to make sure, and we did have a budget, and we actually own the device. And the nonprofit is actually a licensed agency for abatement. So we are hoping that this is one possible way that we can sustain some of the work that we do here in Knoxville County. Next.
Right. Diversifying funding for the future program income through lead abatement, training, certification, and licensing for inspection, risk assessment, and lead abatement removal. We developed a marketing plan in abatement removal, Head Start centers, housing authorities, awardees of homes and low-income tax credits for construction rehabs, applied for HUD's FY 2024 Lead Healthy Homes Technical Study Grant. However, it was not funded. NCAL used lead research to further develop lead hazard demonstrations in CDC lead prevention grants.
And let me pause just for a few minutes too here while we are on this particular side. Is let's take a look at the second bullet about the marketing plan and abatement removal. We have been impacted with the interruptions with the recent economy changes, economic changes in the government and the business market. We were earlier in the year, we had a fairly robust effort to solicit the Head Start centers to remove lead from the to remove lead, but we weren't able to really get that done. So we're just at a pause. Next.
All right. Our work sustaining strategies year 2. Apply for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation local data for communities. That is pending. NCAL is using data to report information about water quality and lead awareness workshops. We collaborated with Bank First Financial Services and a local lender through the Community Reinvestment Act. Requested a financial contribution as a match requirement in a partnership grant program to request as a 5-to-1 grant lottery through the Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas.
I think Benya is probably waiting on me to just make a very, very few comments. We are just still looking for ways to sustain ourselves. The Federal Home Loan Bank, I would encourage everyone to look up the Community Reinvestment Act and look at what lender in your community is making grants for nonprofits to participate in through the grant partnership program as a source of funding. Next. Using market-based approaches. As we close, we just want to encourage everyone to constantly reevaluate your strategies. And that's really what a local market means, that not just a local market, that's what market-based approaches look like. You're just constantly reevaluating the situation, whether it is the local situation, the state economy, or the national economy. We encourage everyone to look across sectors for funding and through partnerships that you never know what you can find, and to integrate technology and to seek partnership to produce program income through subcontract work. And those are all possibilities for sustaining work at the community level. And we want to thank you all.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to Salvador Mendoza, who's going to talk about the work at the Northwest Center.
Hello, everybody. I'm Salvador from Northwest Center, Chicago, Illinois. Next slide, please. Currently, my co-worker Alejandra Elizondo is out on a personal time emergency. We both started working around 2021, community health worker around the height of COVID. And we help play a key role in helping vaccinate over 10,000 residents in Belmont, Cragen. So we're like a northwest side of Chicago. Mm-hmm. Since then, we become certified as lead assessors and lead inspectors. And we currently lead all the organization-led education workshops and home visits, continuing the commitment to protecting and empowering the community. Next slide, please. Founded in 2003, the Northwest Center identifies and responds to the needs of the community by leveraging resources to improve the economic well-being and quality of life in Belmont Cragen and the surrounding communities. So we do in Belmont Cragen and around Austin, Hermosa Park, through housing, counseling, financial literacy programs, and community activists. We help thousands of families in Chicago's Northwest Side keep their homes, create financial opportunities, and grow as organizers and leaders. As part of the, next slide, please. As part of the lead prevention, we had over 133 residents enrolled in the program, 42 home inspections so far completed, 48 as of yesterday, with 15 plus scheduled. We identified lead in homes of like 28% assessed as of April. And we've done like 9 lead prevention workshops with 50 plus participants. Key partnerships formed with schools, churches, senior centers. We've done workshops at banks, community organizations. Through grassroots outreach and collaboration, NWC community health workers have trained and educated residents on lead prevention and conduct in-home assessments. These efforts include free lead testing, community workshops, and home visits, during which they also distributed about, so we give them about some remediation supplies to families to help mitigate these less exposures. What types of lead prevention works we do? We focus mainly on community education work regarding the prevention of lead poisoning in our children and families in general, through visits in their homes, making visual evaluations, and the homes especially educating with information and identify LVP surfaces. The partnerships that we have most important for successful efforts is our schools and our community have been very important in our success. So we've done most of the workshops at the local schools and having a way to educate parents and problems that are important issues of the health of our children, which are the future of our communities. And we give them the opportunity to know how to prevent damage to their health in the future has been very important. Um, Other partnerships we have is mainly with the CDC program. Is our main, uh, but we also have want to thank the help of the Eric Ritter. He's got a Facebook page, the Tech Lead. He donated a couple of about 100 lead lead testing kits, and our creative approach that we implemented the funding and sustaining our work, being able to use basic resources such as printing our own educational materials has been important, provided to participants with our resources at the organization. Avoiding being able to obtain it through third parties and reduce costs. In addition to having obtained several homemade test products to carry them out. Um, in addition to the CDC's grant, we have our own funding through our own organization. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So we're now going to move into some panel discussion, and we can drop the slides. And I'll just lead off some questions, and then feel free for our people that are listening in. If you have questions, feel free to send them in on the Q&A, and again, we'll sort through those after I get through these initial questions that we were kind of thinking would be useful to kick off the conversation. So the first one, we know that about 2/3 of the people that are on the call today are more from the public sector and government that might be partnering with grassroots organizations. So I'm wondering if each of you can kind of provide a broad overview of when you're thinking about grassroots versus other types of partners that might be involved in lead prevention efforts. What types of efforts might be specifically suited in lead prevention work to grassroots organizations versus those other organizations? Do you have any thoughts on which types of lead prevention activities might be best done by a grassroots organization versus other activities? Peggy, do you want to start off?
Sure. At the grassroots level, it's really important to do the blood lead testing with children. And CDC is much more interested in children under age 3. And it does take a lot of effort. In our situation, it takes a lot of effort to identify those children under 3. Because what works in an urban area in terms of having like pulling a data log really doesn't work for us. But we had to go through the process to find that out, that we can't go by homes that were built before 1978, because that's not where the children under 3 are. Our children under 3 are in mobile homes. And we're going to start focusing on the soil, lead in soil or the lead in the pipes. So blood lead testing, working with the soil, working with an extended family. And of course, you can't do any of this without a licensed inspector. You have to have your own lead testing device, which costs about $25,000 to buy, because renting it does not work. We thought about that, and that does not work.
All right. And Salvador, any thoughts on lead prevention work that might be best for grassroots organization versus like that might be better for grassroots than like a government organization or private?
We've been having more direct contact with people, giving more reliability to participate uh, without the fear of, right now with all this turmoil about the political, so we're having a lot of difficulties getting people involved, but we have direct contact with the people, and that help us get more awareness to them and the home visits that we do.
Excellent. And then for thinking about community engagement, which I think relates very much to what you just mentioned, Salvador, what types of community engagement strategies help with prevention efforts? And I'm wondering, Salvador, if you want to start off with this one and talk about like who community health workers are and how they might be useful as a community engagement strategy. Just for people that don't know what a community health worker is. Yeah.
Right. So we have a direct approach with the families in different communities, and we do a lot of our workshops and centered around local schools in our community. Um, a lot of people show interest when they hear about it. When we're doing the workshops, they become really interested in just knowing about the lead exposure, help us get more direct contact with them.
Got it. And Danielle or Peggy, do you have any thoughts on community engagement strategies that you've tried that you think are specifically helpful?
I think we should meet with the Head Starts. Well, we meet with the Head Starts every August when parents, when school get ready to start. I think that's a good one. And that help us also that help us get in touch with the schools, and it keeps us in touch with the parents too. So
excellent.
I can piggyback off of that is that I think what Benya is alluding to is like our data collection numbers. We find that we get most of the children to test, especially the children under 3 or the under 6, when school starts, because Head Start mandates that you test the children.
have to
So
do a
we get more
wellness check.
children tested at that time.
So at the same time that the school starting, you can use that for a wellness check. I mean, they have to have the wellness check anyway. So you kind of include it all in one, and it's because it's kind of hard for parents to, if you want to get them tested just for lead, it's kind of better if you do it all at one time.
That's a super good strategic idea there. So and then my next question, which that actually feeds right into, is thinking about partnerships that people might not have thought of before, that might not be your like standard one. So Head Start is a great example of like someone, and then that strategy you have around the wellness visits and kind of partnering the two, the prevention testing with a regular wellness visit. Do any of you have other ideas about sort of unlikely or non-traditional partners that people might not have thought of that are really good partners for this type of work that have really helped you like move the work around locally?
Well, mostly we typically think of public health type partners, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of assistance from the Mississippi Department of Health. but one of the partners that you may not consider is an economic partner. And in this particular case, um, our local bank and the Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas and foundations, um, because we do have to figure out how to sustain the work, because the grant is only for 3 years, and we would like some activities to go on beyond the 3 years that the government is paying for funding. So those are all possibilities. And the other idea that we've been working on, but because of the recent changes, we haven't been able to implement to our satisfaction, is to get the different sectors in communication with each other to see can we find more partnerships, especially to look for abatement money. We are not making a lot of inroads, but we're trying.
Yeah, great ideas. And Salvador, do you have anything to add there on sort of partnerships that have been helpful for all of you?
Like I mentioned before, right? The Facebook page for Eric Reader donated the testing kits in the local schools. We've been reaching out through parent mentors. That's been a lot of help in reaching out to the community too.
Excellent.
Mhm.
And then last question, you just touched on, Peggy, but thinking about sustainability and, the grant, like most grassroots strategies are connected to community-based organizations that are all grant funded. And so other creative approaches to implementing or like sort of sustaining the work or funding the work that you might have. And I know you touched on some ideas, Peggy, in your presentation, and Salvador, you just talked about the donation that you got, of all the testing kits. But any other thoughts about ways people can sustain the work, or think about who to reach out to? I think you just mentioned the banks, but any other ideas about who would be good kind of funders in a broad sense, because since we're talking to a national audience, like types of institutions or partners they might think of out.
Getting the sectors to pick up their, not their share, but a share of the work.
Mm-hmm.
That not only do you look out for funders to get money to help us to sustain the work, you can also go in partnership to look for money to help the medical providers to 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 extend the work. Um, so it's always a possibility. It's just to work with the providers that's going to be there, whether you're going to be there or not, is that the medical providers are going to still be there, and to get them to uh, and this takes a lot of work, because it may be a matter of changing some policies, is to get them to actually take a more active role in lead poisoning prevention. That's hard work. We started it, and I just don't think that we're going to finish it at the end of the 3 years, but you can't do anything but work on it.
Excellent. I'm going to jump into the questions that are starting to come in here. So I'm going to start with some partnership questions. Someone wanted to know about Habitat for Humanity, and has anyone partnered with them as a possible lead abatement partner? Or do they have sort of a role in the conversation? I haven't heard about that specifically, but any thoughts on that? So Habitat for Humanity, and whether they're like locally involved where you guys are?
We have a version of it around here with Habitat for Humanity. It's basically where the local I think up north the correct name would be Amish. Down south we call it, they call themselves Mennonites. Where they actually come to our county every year from Pennsylvania and Ohio, and they come here and they fix people's house. They come twice a year. They come twice a year and they fix people's house for free. Like they do front porches and front doors and stuff like this. Older people in the community, and everything is free. And they do it twice a year, and it's strictly from the Mennonite community. It's like a gift they give to us twice a year.
Wow, that's amazing. Nice. Do you have anything similar to that, Salvador, that you know of where you are?
No, I have no contact with.
Okay. How about Habitat for Humanity? Are they active in your area?
Not in my area. We at the point of start of our program, we started with the Lori's Children's Hospital. They had an asthma program, so that's how we started. And then we leveraged those resources with the lead prevention with the CDC.
Got it. Great. And then let's see, other partnership. Oh, someone mentioned, do people partner with construction companies or home improvement companies to think about partnerships? And that could make sense for new homes or for redoing homes if they're able to, although not all of them are able, especially if they're smaller businesses, able to offer discounts or things to help people in low income housing or in areas where they might need support to do the repairs.
We've been trying to organize contractors to take the training to RRP. We have very little success with them.
Yes, that is a good strategy. Yeah, that might be harder to take longer to
To the-
organize.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes they offer like from the, I don't know if they still have the CDC grant where they offer those RRP certifications for free, but that's what we try and get them to enroll.
A large share of the money actually comes through HUD, through the home program, and it comes through the Mississippi Home Corporation. And it's a competitive grant, and it's only uh, a small number of people that's going to get rehab money. You can do new constructions or you can do rehab. And the money is going to come to, there is set aside money for nonprofits. And years ago, of course, I used to participate more in housing, but it's very time consuming. As in any industry, you have to be a part of the network and participate in your state conferences and actually get to know people. But one of the things that we did do that as a part of our abatement process was to at least find out who got funded, because who received the HUD awards that particular year, the home award for that particular year, and if it's rehab versus acquisition, those would be good partners. But like I say, that's really beyond the work that we do, and is very very time consuming. But it I think they would make a very excellent ponder. But I'm just having this conversation with you all, it just lets me know that we went at from a marketing point of view after the fact as to who was funded, but of course working with the tax credit agency for that particular state would probably be the best bet.
Great. And then thinking about the last one on partnerships and kind of related to this housing question is someone wants to know if you guys have any advice on working with landlords and kind of tenant empowerment. And I know that's been a big topic in a lot of communities of sort of how to support tenants of places where there's certain landlords that aren't maybe doing all the repairs or need to be in charge of making the repairs that are necessary. Any thoughts on that?
We've been trying to partner with the tenants, but the rent's been so high right now. A lot of people are hesitant about, if they're gonna do the repairs, they have to move out, and they won't have any place to live. So there is not a lot of partnerships with that one. We do have a tenants' rights workshop that we also be part of. So we try to educate people about their rights as a tenant and what they can and cannot request from the landlord.
Excellent. And how about Peggy or Vaniel? Any thoughts on working with landlords and or tenant organizing?
When you have to be careful dealing with your landlords, they actually, most of them want to help. The word slumlord is widely used, but you know, they actually want to help, but a lot of time with landlord, they're actually scared that they're going to open themselves up for certain things. So they're kind of hesitant. You're kind of hesitant with some of the landlords. Now with some of the bigger older properties, then they know they need help. But with some of the small, some say the personal owners, the guy who might own 3 or 4 houses, he's kind of skeptical about that because he knows he might open himself up to it. So that's a small problem we had, you know. People want to help, but they don't want to get sued, but they want to help. So, you know, I understand that from a business point of view, but I'm talking from a public health point of view.
Yeah. Do you have any strategies that have worked in trying to partner with them to understand, like to come to a middle ground of them
So
providing what might be necessary?
You have to, most time we just let them know they're not the target. The target, the object of the whole thing is to try to help the family or help the kids. To let the landlord know that we're on the same side, and usually that works.
That's a great recommendation. All right, jumping over to a couple questions about lead testing. Someone wanted to know, is anyone doing indoor lead testing of homes? We know there's like kind of the paint swab things on the outside, but thoughts about, I know you do those home visits, Salvador. Any thoughts on indoor lead testing and how people are doing that and how to go about doing that?
We also have give out information. They can call 311, which is the local government. That they can send you the bottles to do the water testing. And like I was saying about the fluorescent lights too that we got from Eric Ritter. So we do some of those. Those are really, they're actually really cool when you do the testing with those, with the fluorescent and the watermark.
Well, of course, we have actually purchased the a lead testing device, and we do our own testing. We are certified abatement company, licensed inspector, and we work very closely with the manufacturer to do ongoing training because you do have to know how to read the data from the gun. The gun is just it's a gun for testing, but there's a computer up inside that device. They call the device a testing gun.
It's
So
XRF gun. The actual name of it, XRF gun, and it can read. You can test different surfaces in the dwelling, and it doesn't matter how many coats of paint have been on the house. You can have the original coat of paint all the way to the last coat of paint, and in between it can be 15 coats in between, and it can see all of that. That's the thing about the XRF gun. It gives you on a big testing job. You have time consuming things where you can just put your gun to the wall, 20 seconds, and you'll have a readout of your positive or negative just like that.
Nice. That's excellent. Thank you. So I think that's it for the questions that came in, at least for now. I'm curious if you guys, as we close out here, if you have any final things you wanted to make sure to be able to share or thoughts you had that would be useful for our audience. And we can start with you, Peggy.
I'm trying to think about what it is that I would like to share. I would like to encourage every person or every organization to find the resources, whether it's government funds or other private funds, to actually invest in buying the device and actually becoming certified and using the device, because not only will that help with sustainability of in terms of program income, but it also helps with sustainability of actual work, even volunteer work. when you don't have any money, you can always go and do that and always try to use your demonstrations to reduce the lead. That if you never get to the point where you can identify funds to remove the lead, at least you can tell them how to get it out from their porch or their walls or their windowsills so that they can live in a healthier environment.
And this is to the Northwest Center of Chicago. Mr. Salvador,
Yes, sir.
yes, you keep up the good fight. We have a special place in our hearts for the city of Chicago. Yes,
Thank
we
you.
do. Yes,
Thank
we
you.
do.
All right. And then Salvador, any closing thoughts that you have that would be useful for folks?
The one piece of the one piece of the we still like when we do the workshops, we still the we call it the people become interested when once you start talking about it. So doing the workshops, even if it's 20 minutes, make them aware. People will react to it and will want to find out more. So just, you know, even if it's 10, 20 minutes, we do our workshops last about 40 minutes, but 10, 20 minutes, you still the people so they can get more interested and more involved in coping, coping with their lead problems at home. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, thank you all so much. And thank you to Dr. Lydell, Vaniel, and Salvador so much for your time and meeting with everyone. This has been really useful and valuable information. And again, we really encourage people to engage with your partners. If you're from a government organization, to engage with your grassroots partners to help you do your work. And lots of great ideas for our grassroots partners themselves of different strategies to engage in and activities that might be beneficial for them and to our other partners. So thank you all so much for your time, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.